Sentinel Journal this morning on the 15% rise in homicide in the city of Milwaukee. I try not to drown in data, like 15% rise, well, okay. But I think there's an underlying story there. And the underlying story is, from the data inside of that 92% of the victims and suspects have long criminal histories. The criminal justice system has been throttled subtly and slowly over the last, 5 years with this soft on crime, de-incarceration, de-emphasizing the use of jails and prisons to keep these violent, repeat career criminals separated from folks like you, law-abiding citizens. And what's happened is law enforcement executives, chiefs mainly, some sheriffs, but not so much sheriffs. See, we're accountable to you, not a mayor. That's why I say chiefs mainly. If you got a mayor like Tom Barrett or Michael Bloomberg, this mayors against guns and this mayors against the Second Amendment, then you got to stay attached to that philosophy. I don't. I think this stuff is crazy. They have repackaged these failed policies, these failed initiatives of rehabilitation, and they've renamed them with things like alternatives to incarceration. They've renamed them things like restorative justice. I can't think of some of the other ones, but they're very nice sounding names, right? Who wouldn't be for restorative justice, right? It sounds pretty neat. There you go, there's another one. All right, I'm not for them. And I'll tell you why, because you're taking violent criminals with a history, and instead of keeping them separated with things like early release, with things like deferred prosecution, that's another one, state sentences, you're taking that individual, putting them right back into the community to reoffend. 92% of these people involved in this look of homicides over the last year have long criminal histories. What does that tell you? They're putting these people back in the street to kill, maim, rape, rob other people. That's why we're seeing this. To me, this is evidence that these policies are failing. Yet you have these folks that support this stuff stand up and say, oh, this stuff's working, it's great, we're changing people. I wish it were that easy to change behavior. Talk to behavioral scientists. They will tell you it is not easy to change behavior. And by the time these individuals reach where they need to go to prison, and where many are in prison, they're not for low-level offenses either. That's a myth. This whole thing is a scam. But by the time they reach that level, criminal behavior is ingrained, deeply ingrained. It's a lifestyle. Just like with you folks, you go to work every day, work's a lifestyle. They commit crimes every day. It's a lifestyle. It's ingrained behavior. We need to be a little more humble and a little more realistic about who we could change and who we can't. And they're trying to do this wholesale, taking these guys, give them a little GED education, give them a little job training, sending them out into communities where there are no jobs. How can they thrive? There are no support services in these communities, in these neighborhoods, to handle these individuals. So what are they doing when they come out? There's no jobs. They have no skills. They're functionally illiterate. They have no education. They have nothing to offer an employer. They're going to go back to committing crime. This isn't hard to figure out. I try not to make rocket science out of police work. It's not rocket science. It's pretty simple. Here's what you do. You establish a relationship with your community, with your beat, the officer, okay? You know who lives in that area. You got to know who the perpetrators are, who the good guys are, because they can help you. The law-abiding people, and the overwhelming majority are law-abiding. They can help you, but you have to have a relationship with them or they aren't going to help you. If they don't trust you, like in many of our minority communities, they don't trust the police, whether it's right or wrong, or whether they should discuss it for another day. They can help you, so you have to first establish a relationship where they want to help, and they want to be a part of their community. And there is no sense of community. So you do that first. And you have to get that done. The next thing you do is you identify the bad guys. Community will tell you. And you arrest the bad guys. And you put a case together, and with the help of the district attorney's office and the courts, you put them away for the longest period of time allowed by law. I said the bad guys. I say everybody. When you don't do that, you are communicating to the criminal element, we're not serious about this. Not much is going to happen. Keep sticking guns against people's heads. Keep taking their cars, their wallets. Keep doing drive-by shootings, because not much is going to happen. And the criminal knows that. That's why they continue to repeat the behavior. You want to change behavior, you attach consequences to unwanted behavior. Consequences, arrest, prosecution, we're taking you out of circulation, pal. Not for 100 years. But for an armed robbery, you can't get a state sentence. Stick a gun against somebody's head, take their card or wallet. No, that's a threshold. I think it's a 30-year maximum sentence. I'm not saying they're going to go for 30, but here's what's happening. Young man, I'm going to sentence you to 8 years in Wisconsin State Prison for that armed robbery that you, or 3 or 4, because they don't get arrested for 1. So he gets 4 counts, they'll read in 3 of them and charge him with 1. This is the game that's going on. So instead of being exposed to 30 years times 4, 120 years, which would increase the minimum amount of time, they'll charge him with 1 and read the others in. Sir, I'm sentencing you to 8 years in Wisconsin State Prison, but I'm going to stay it. What does that mean? I'm taking it back. I'm going to put you on probation instead. And I want you to stay away from firearms, and I want you to stay away from drugs and alcohol, and I want you to go get an education. This guy's looking at the judge like, is this guy serious? I've been doing this my whole damn life. I'm not going back to school. I don't have the discipline to stay in the job market. I don't have any skills to offer anyway. Crime's a lifestyle for me. So the guy goes, Your Honor, thank you, I'm going to be a good boy. Within a short period of time, he's back at it. Gets arrested again. Comes back in, you know what, the same thing, because now he gets another second chance. Well, son, I told you last time, but I'm really telling you this time. This is what happens. So law enforcement executives, the thing that is driving me nuts the most is law enforcement executives, chiefs, some sheriffs, have abdicated their responsibility to come up with plans and initiatives to keep the community safe and have turned it over to intellectual elites and colleges and universities. That's where this stuff is coming from. We can remake people. You cannot remake people. That takes intensive, expensive therapy that we can't afford in the criminal justice system. Ask anybody who suffers from an addiction. Will it help to say you stop drinking? It doesn't help. Intensive treatment with support services, the support of others. And so they're sticking these guys then back into the community to repeat the stuff over and over again. So killing people, maiming, robbing, raping, I think that stuff is cruel. I really do. So it's hurting the business climate. I've read a statistic. It's been estimated that crime costs the Milwaukee economy, the city, $200 million every year.
Wow.
Crime.
Wow.
Why? Businesses can't stay afloat. Businesses are leaving. If you got a business in an area that's crime-ridden, you can't attract customers. They go, I'm not going down there, it's dangerous. So businesses can't thrive. If businesses can't thrive, they can't employ people. The black unemployment rate in the city of Milwaukee is 32%. That's twice the national average for black unemployment. In Milwaukee, I'd settle for 16. I'd settle for the national average. We're at twice the national average. The poverty level in the city of Milwaukee, 30%. Well, not every 3 people is living in poverty in the city of Milwaukee. 4th highest in the nation. 4th. I think like 3 years ago or so we were 6th. Now we're 4th. It's getting worse. Education, school failure. A predictor of a life of crime and violence, school failure. MPS is mass producing ignorance and illiteracy. Kids can't read at grade level, they can't write, they can't read printed words on paper and attach any meaning or understanding to it. They're functionally illiterate. How can you compete for jobs in the 21st century if you can't read, you can't put a sentence together, you can't read a paragraph that's 3-4 sentences and understand its meaning? You can't go anywhere in this country. Now, how does this affect you? And we'll get into the paramilitary stuff. It's costing more and more of your tax dollars that you send to Madison, Department of Revenue, your income taxes, your property taxes. You don't necessarily send property taxes to Madison, but your income tax. You're supposed to get some of that back, right? More of that's going to the city of Milwaukee for social services because they need more social services. So that means your money that you go out and you work for, you send to Madison, you expect to come back in terms of, you know, school funding and roads and some of these things that to help your community because you live there and you sent that money is being diverted to the city of Milwaukee because, well, we need it over here because, you know, we need more social services, this agency, anti-poverty agencies that are all a failure anyway, and that's a discussion for another day. We have a plethora of anti-poverty agencies in the city of Milwaukee, the Urban League, the Social Development Commission. You read their mission statements. To reduce poverty, to reduce unemployment, and it's all going up.
Job security.
They're on federal and state money, grants. So that's how it affects you. You can go, hey, that's why I moved out of the city. Fine, you're funding it. Is that okay with you? You're funding that failure in the city of Milwaukee. The money's not coming back to your community in the percentage it should. You're getting some of it back. But you're funding MPS, Milwaukee Public Schools, $1.2 billion budget to mass produce ignorance and illiteracy. 50% graduation rate, high truancy rate, 4th and 8th grade math and reading scores. That's when they do the testings. That's why I pick out 4th and 8th grade. Among the worst in the nation, black math. And I say black because predominantly MPS is black. Right? 2% of blacks that take the SATs score proficient in the core subjects. 2%. National average is about, don't hold me to these numbers, these are estimates. The next Journal Sentinel will be doing a PolitiFact. But it's 35 and a half pants on fire. Yeah. So the numbers on the SAT, about 32% of the people that take it, they were taking it. Pass 2%. You know where they were educated before they took that SAT? MPS. That's why I say they're mass producing ignorance and illiteracy. All right? What to do? You got to get behind the people who kind of get it. You hear me talk about this stuff publicly, incessantly. I'm on the radio, I'm on TV, I'm at places like this. I'm trying to change the dynamic, but I can't do it by myself. Because I hear people say, you know, I don't live there, I don't know what to do. Take to the blogs, take to the airwaves, support the people, because the people who are fighting me and trying to marginalize me, Sentinel Journal, political class in the city of Milwaukee, they want me gone. Why? Because I'm spoiling the party. All right.
No, we don't want it in Milwaukee.
So they know that, you know what, if we can get rid of this guy, no one will talk about this stuff, and we'll be able to keep investing in this failure. All right, and I want it to stop. I want it to stop for a number of reasons, because kids growing up in the city of Milwaukee are not going to have the opportunities that I had. I'm from the city, grew up, lived my whole life. I went to decent schools. Okay, I got my education, I have a career. I'm not the problem. But in order to get where I got today, I had to get a good education. I had to learn how to read. Just like all you folks, right, and your kids. They're not getting that chance. These kids are pawns for more federal dollars, for more service, social service agencies, youth programs and whatnot, but it's being just poured down the drain. So that's how you can help. and it should tick you off. When you look